Hello, and here's another video on my tricorder, and I'm very glad to say after 1 year of this, it's finally done. Now, I wanted to make this video to show off the finished prop and to talk a little bit about how I came about making it. To put it simply, I'm a Star Trek nut, and throughout my life I've had a deep love of all things sci-fi and props. And when I came across this concept art by Rick Sternbach for Star Trek Voyager, I knew I had to go about building this. Now sadly, this prop ended up not being used on the show, however, I still loved its design and decided to make it. Drawing on my background in graphic design and 3D model making, I started to put together the 3D CAD model suitable for 3D printing. I'd originally planned to have this printed on my new Railcore machine, however that didn't happen. So after finishing the design and printing the parts on my old 3D printer, I started to design the circuits. I ended up using a mixture of my own PCB designs and off-the-shelf modules to get the job done. Now, as with all development work, the first revisions always fail. I think there's a written rule somewhere, at least that's what I'm told. Anyway, after reprinting the part and designing the new circuit, and many months of sanding and painting, and then sanding and painting again, and then some software design, I finished it. And well, here it is. Now, it might look a little bit grubby, but that's intentional, as I wanted to make it look like it had been used for the 7 years it spent in the Delta Quadrant, unlike how it was on the TV show, with every week the ship looking as if it's fresh out of space dock. Now, let's turn this on and have a little look at its interactive features. I've included a startup screen for when the door opens, but I might add an option to skip this later. All the buttons have a capacitive touch sensor, so when you tap the buttons it creates a beep. And I've also added a long press feature to change scanning modes and other controls of the tricorder. I'll turn the scanning sound off for now, and then I'll go through the different scanning modes. Long pressing the sensors button flips between the several scanning modes on the LCD screen and changes the LED sequence. I have also added the emergency function, which was never actually used on the TV series, however the button's always been there on the props. Pressing the button loads up the warning screen. And long pressing it after that triggers the countdown. Now, once it's done its thing, the tricorder has gone into a low power state with an emergency beacon. The buttons no longer make any beeps, and opening and closing the door only triggers the ratchet sound. However, you can come out of this state by long pressing the power button. So yeah, this is now finished enough for me. It's certainly been a long project, and for one I'm glad to be done with it. However, things aren't perfect with this prop. The battery is unremovable and it draws quite a lot of power. And already one LED has failed, but it's a little one on the side, so it doesn't really matter. One of the really cool things I did with this prop was to make a working hollow hinge that passed several data cables and power through it. I used threaded enamel wire, and how long the enamel lasts before it starts shorting between cables is anyone's guess, but for now it works, so I'm happy. So what's next for me then? You might recognise this. It's not a Sony PSP but a Chinese retro handheld, and not a very good one either. My original plan is to put an Orange Pi Zero into this to make it better, but after having a think, I've decided it would be better and more fun to build my own retro handheld from scratch, with the Orange Pi as a base. This way, I can have fun designing it and fit a bigger, higher res screen into it. I'll be printing the chassis and the buttons on my resin printer and my new Railcore printer once it's working. And I've already managed to source most of the parts I need, including these rubber domed buttons, which are really great and should give the soft button feel most game controllers have. Now, if you're interested in seeing my projects and watching my update videos as I go through developing them, maybe consider subscribing. Now, I'm not a YouTube creator and I make these projects for myself to keep me occupied, but it does help me continue working on my projects if I know people enjoy seeing them. So I hope you like this video and I'll see you later. Bye!